Hello everyone. In the continuation of the series of Principles of Agronomy by Reddy and Reddy, chapter 2, that is climate. This is the next video, and in this video I would like to cover the entire chapter as my purpose of this video is to make you aware about the important parts of the chapter and to clarify at the points where the student finds it difficult to understand. So if you find it useful and the previous videos useful, so share it with your juniors and batchmates. So let's begin. The various instruments that are being used to measure the total incoming radiation, the instrument that is used for measuring total incoming radiation is called pyranometer. Likewise, there are different types of pyranometer that are being used, like Epley pyrometer and Melanie pyrometer. See, these are, you can remember these names, but the important part is that most of these pyranometers are electric one, and the most common electrical pyranometer is precision pyranometer and Lickor pyranometer. After that, these are various instruments that are being mentioned. We'll discuss it, and the other part is, see, the name of the instruments and that are used for. You can go through this, take a screenshot or study yourself, because there is nothing to explain in this. The important part that I would like to discuss is that thermocouple and thermograph. These are two important instruments. Thermocouple is used for measuring soil temperature, while thermograph is used for measuring air temperature. Wherever the term graph is being used, it is used to monitor any of the parameter in continuously. For example, if barograph is there, then it will use to measure pressure in continuous manner. Same is the case with thermograph. It is used to measure air temperature continuously. These are other instruments like spectroradiometer is used for measuring narrow wave bands, solar radiation in narrow wave bands. The important part is that the type of cards that are being used. So we will discuss the types of cards, but in a case of spectroradiometer, it was first designed by Indian Space Research Organization ISRO Bangalore, which has the following dimensions: that it measures an interval of about 20 nanometer band with width between 400 to 1010 millimeter wavelength range. This is not important, you can skip this. Only remember that it was developed by ISRO. The important thing is that infrared thermometer senses radiation in the range of 18 to 14 mm wave band. This is important, the range that is 18 to 14 mm. The other important part is the process of heat transfer. There are basically three processes of heat transfer, that is conduction, convection and radiation. Everyone knows about this, but what is conduction, what is convection and what is radiation. See, the important part is that radiation is the transfer of energy by electromagnetic waves, and it moves at the speed of light. The important thing is that out of conduction, convection and radiation, the fastest mode of transmission of heat is radiation and the slowest is conduction. While in case of soil, the transmission of heat takes place mainly through conduction. Talking about the air temperature, see, just now we have read that thermocouple is being used for measuring the air temperature thermograph is being used for measuring the air temperature continuously, while in the case of air temperature, it is being measured by that thermograph, while soil temperature is being measured by thermocouple. The important thing is that the albedo of earth, basically it's not mentioned that it is albedo, but it is albedo. If you go through the sentence, it is mentioned that when cloudiness is average, the absorption of solar radiation by earth's surface is about 43%. The earth absorbs 43% of the solar radiation, and by the atmosphere is 22%, and 35% is reflected back into the space. So basically the albedo of earth is 35%. See, these are the various conversion units that are being given, like 1 meter is equal to 1000 millimeter, 1 mm is equal to 1000 micrometer. This is the basic type, and it is mentioned, it is not written, it is 1 nanometer is equal to 10,000 picometer. This is a diagram that relates about how the radiation from sun reaches to earth and how it is reflected back, like some part is absorbed by the clouds and about 25% is reflected back Same is with the case of earth, some amount of light is being scattered. This is all about, this is not important, you can skip this. The important part starts not from here also, this is also not important, this is just a basic thing, like less than 10% of the atmosphere of the temperature is due to direct heating of the atmosphere. Means basically less than 10% of the temperature of atmosphere that is present is due to direct heating. Majorly of it is because of indirect heating. The important part is that the maximum radiation of earth is at 12 pm, that is at noon, but the maximum temperature is observed at 2 pm. This variation is known as thermal lag. Thermal, THERMAL, and lag, LAG. The diurnal variation is less in coastal areas while it is considerably high in inlands. This is very important, that diurnal variation is very less in coastal areas while it is very high in equator. The reverse is also true, that the seasonal variation is very less in equator and it is more as high altitude. This is very important, do remember this. And other important thing is the horizontal and vertical variation. In this, the isotherms are being used for measurement of vertical variation in temperature, and this is vertical variation in temperature is very important in terms of meteorological point of view, as you have also studied that the classification of various strata of atmosphere, that is troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, all this is based on vertical temperature difference. Now the temperature gradient. See, the lapse rate is very important. The definition of lapse rate as well as adiabatic lapse rate is very important. It has been asked in 2019 JRF examination that what is the definition of adiabatic lapse rate. It was given that the rate at which temperature changes as air rises or falls is called dash. So the options were like adiabatic lapse rate, inversion, etc. So you must remember the statement that adiabatic lapse rate is the rate at which temperature changes as air rises or falls. Alright. While lapse rate is the vertical temperature decrease is known as lapse rate. So there is a difference between these two statements. You remember the statement word to word because it has been asked, so it is important. Also remember that the normal lapse rate is 6.5 degrees Celsius per kilometer, or it might be written as 3.5 degree Fahrenheit per 1000 feet. While the adiabatic lapse rate is, in case of dry adiabatic lapse rate, it is 10 degrees Celsius per kilometer, while in the case of wet, it is about 5 degrees Celsius per kilometer. Other important thing is inversion. Generally, when we increase in altitude, basically what if we increase, there is an increase in altitude, there will be a decrease in temperature. So there is an inverse relationship between altitude and temperature, but many a times as the altitude increases, there is an increase in temperature. This is phenomenon is known as inversion. The other important thing is the soil temperature. See, soil temperature is basically related with the thermal conductivity. Thermal conductivity is basically the ease with which soil temperature can flow within soil. In layman language, thermal conductivity can be understood in such manner. If agronomically it is defined as the quantity of heat flowing in a unit time through unit cross section of soil in response to a specified temperature gradient. Basically, how easily heat can flow through soil is basically thermal conductivity. Now, thermal conductivity depends on various factors like texture, moisture, and organic matter. This is very important. Thermal conductivity is very important for examination point of view. The statement thermal conductivity is high for sandy soil. This is very important statement. So we must remember that thermal conductivity is high for sandy soil compared to clay soil. This is basically because of higher macropores present in sandy soil compared to that of clay soil. Another important thing is that the relation of soil moisture with thermal conductivity. As soil moisture increases, thermal conductivity also increases. Means in wet soil there will be easy flow of temperature. Now with increase in soil organic matter, it lowers the thermal conductivity. Also in heavy soils with high organic matter, they have less conductivity, because in heavy soils clay content will be more. Basically it will lead to lower that conductivity, addition to that there is a high organic matter that will also lead to a lowering in thermal conductivity. The various statements that is being mentioned over here signifies the reason for the lowering or increase of the thermal conductivity based on various parameters, like if porosity increases, how will thermal conductivity react, and if there is an increase in macro pore, how it will react. This is basically given in this paragraph. After that, there is a diurnal variation in soil temperature. Basically, the diurnal variation may be as high as 16 degrees Celsius, means the temperature of day and night can have a maximum difference of 16 degrees Celsius. While the important part is that the soil temperature below 80 centimeter is almost stable irrespective of day and night, means from the top soil to 80 centimeter, means below 80 centimeter the temperature of soil would nearly be constant. It would not be dependent upon the temperature of day or night. Now, measurement of temperature, basically the temperature is being measured in three units: Fahrenheit, Celsius and Kelvin. They all are interconvertible, and the formula given is used for converting of various temperature into the other, like degree Celsius can be converted into Fahrenheit can be converted into degree Celsius, and Kelvin can be converted into degree Celsius. These are the three formulas. You must remember all these because they are basic things. Now after that, the various instruments that are used for measuring temperature. See, basically the most common instrument that is used is thermometer. Now it may be of maximum thermometer or it may be minimum thermometer. The important part is that, as the name itself suggests, maximum thermometer is used to measure the highest temperature, while minimum thermometer is used to measure the lowest temperature. The important part is that the maximum thermometer consists of mercury, as generally the normal thermometer also consists of this only, while the minimum, also that there is a wet bulb that is present in maximum thermometer, while in minimum thermometer there is, instead of mercury, there is alcohol, and because of the alcohol there is a dumbbell like shape within the alcohol, like this. There is a dumbbell like construction is being present in the narrow bore, that is a tube. This is important. And other important thing is that minimum thermometer is set during the evening hours, while the maximum thermometer is set during the morning hours. Now the thermocouple we have discussed, it is used to measure the soil temperature, while thermograph, it is a device that is used to record air temperature continuously. So remember that thermograph is used for measuring air temperature, not soil temperature. After that, atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure, the instrument that would be used for measuring atmospheric pressure is barometer. Atmospheric pressure is the pressure that is exerted by the atmosphere on the earth's surface. That is as simple as the statement. Now the important part is that in the lower layer of the atmosphere, the atmospheric pressure is more, as the weight of the upper layer is less. So troposphere will have the highest atmospheric pressure compared to mesosphere or thermosphere. Now there are various types of barometers that are being used. For example, aneroid barometer is there, then other types of barometers are also there. So you can just remember that aneroid barometer is used for measuring pressure, atmospheric pressure. Now barograph is another instrument that is used for measuring atmospheric pressure in a continuous manner. Now wind is a horizontal motion which travels from a high pressure area to a low pressure area. So remember that it moves from high pressure to low pressure, while wind is named after the direction from which it flows. For example, if wind is blowing from south to north, it is flowing in this manner, then the wind will be named as southward wind, as the wind in which side from it is blowing is named after which, like it has been given that if wind is blowing from south to north, it will be called as southward wind. See, the important thing is that from where the wind is blowing is called windward side, and towards which the wind is blowing, it's called leeward side. LEEWARD, leeward side. While from where the wind is blowing, it is called as windward side. Alright, now the important part is that the wind direction in the upper layer of the atmosphere can be known by the movement of clouds. So as the direction of clouds, so is the direction of winds in the upper layer. Also, the velocity of wind is generally greater during the daytime as compared to the night hours. Wind velocity is being measured by anemometer. This is very common. Now humidity is basically that water vapor that is present in the atmosphere. This can be skipped, this is not important. The important part is that basically humidity is of three types: absolute humidity, specific humidity, and relative humidity. Out of these, relative humidity is of very much importance, and it is important that this is mostly used in agriculture point of view, or from agriculture aspect relative humidity is most important. Now absolute humidity can be defined as the weight of water vapor to the volume of air present. it the weight of water vapor is measured in terms of gram, and volume of air in terms of meter cube. So the unit of absolute humidity is gram per meter cube, while specific humidity is the weight of water vapor per unit weight of air including water vapor. So it is the weight per unit weight, it is gram per kilogram. Both this specific humidity and absolute humidity are dependent on temperature, so they are very difficult to measure, and they are not of much importance in aspect from crop growth or crop production point of view. The important is relative humidity. It is basically the ratio between the amount of water vapor present in air and the amount of water that is required for saturation. Since it is the ratio, it has no unit. And the important part is also this, that when the vapor pressure deficit, see, vapor pressure deficit is the difference between the saturation vapor pressure and actual vapor pressure. When it is 1.5 kilopascals or less than that, the air is said to be humid or saturated, while when it is less than more than 2.5 kilopascal, it is said to be dry. This is a misnomer, so do remember that. This is very confusing, that student might get it wrong, that if it is less, so uh, humidity will also be low, but it is not so, as there is a inverse relationship between pressure and humidity. So more is the pressure, less is the humidity. Now the instruments that are used for measuring relative humidity, basically psychrometers or hygrometers are being used for measuring humidity. There is one other term known as hydrometer. See, hydrometer is used for measuring specific gravity of liquids, while hygrometer is used for measuring relative humidity. Now the psychrometer consists of wet bulb and a dry bulb. The wet bulb consists of a thin muslin cloth that is wrapped around the bulb so as a moist condition is being maintained throughout, while the dry bulb does not contain such. Both of these, dry bulb and wet bulb, consist of mercury only. There is no alcohol that is being present. Now the other instruments that are being used for measuring relative humidity is Asman psychrometer is being used, hair hygrometer is being used. Hair hygrometry, as the name suggests, hair hygrometer consists of a human hair, which is a sensitive element, and in case of hygrograph also, human hair is being used, and in hair hygrograph, so only some amount of human hair is being used, while in hygrograph mostly a bunch of hairs are being used. That is, sensitive is a bundle of human hair which expands and contracts as humidity increases or decreases. Now evaporation. See, evaporation is a process by which water in liquid state is converted into a vapor state. See, the important thing is that evaporation is a diffusive process. Remember this, that evaporation is a diffusive process. Now talking about the measurement of evaporation, there are various instruments that can be used for measurement of evaporation. The most common is the USWB pan evaporimeter. USWB stands for United Nations Weather Bureau, and open pan evaporimeter is the most commonly used evaporimeter that is in India. The dimensions of USWB parameter are important, that is 25 centimeter height and 122 centimeter diameter. Now see, evaporation is expressed in terms of millimeter per day, so remember that unit. While if you talk of rainfall, it is also measured in terms of millimeter per day, so both the units are same. The other instruments are sunken screen evaporimeter. You need to remember the dimensions. It is height of 45 centimeter and a diameter of 60 centimeter. Also, Canny evaporimeter is being used. Other instrument is the portable evaporimeter. See, out of all these evaporimeters like portable evaporimeter, can evaporimeter, sunken screen evaporimeter and USWB pen evaporimeter, except USWB pen evaporimeter, all can be used in crop fields. Sunken screen evaporimeter, can evaporimeter and portable evaporimeter can be used in crop field, but USWB pen evaporimeter is not used. While for scheduling of irrigation, can evaporimeter is being used. This is very important. So you must remember that for scheduling of irrigation, can evaporimeter is being used. See, evaporation can be measured with evaporimeter, atmedometer. These are the instruments that are used for measuring evaporation. I'm not talking of the rainfall. See, rainfall is basically a synonymous to precipitation. Now, rainfall is basically an ordinary raindrop has a size of 0.5 to 4 mm, and when the raindrop is has a size of less than 0.5, it is known as drizzle. Now, type of rain. Rain is a drizzle is a very light intensity composed of fine droplets of less than 0.5 mm. All right. Now, when water droplets evaporate completely before reaching ground, it is known as mist. This is important. That mist is a type of precipitation in which water droplet evaporates before reaching to ground. Now, the other important part is glaze, rim, sleet. See, these are terms that are very confusing and very important also. Glaze refers to freezing rain, rim refers to freezing fog, and sleet is a solid precipitation, as you must have seen hail. The same is the sleet. Now the total amount of precipitation that falls every year across the globe is 505,000 kilometers cube. This is very important, and the average annual precipitation is 990 mm, while of India it is 1140. Now in Cherrapunji is the wettest place on the earth. You must remember that where it is located. It is located in which state? Basically in Meghalaya, Assam, or in the Manipur. In which state? This is important. It has been asked also in JRF examination that what is the location of Cherrapunji. Now there are various seasons of occurrence of rainfall, and out of this, if you talk of the ecosystem type, see, rainforest are characterized by high rainfall and that must have a rainfall between 1750 to 2000 mm. This rainfall range is very important for characteristic of categorization of rainforest. While a tropical savanna consists of a it has a rainfall between 750 to 1270 mm. This is very important that rainforest has a rainfall between 1750 to 2000 mm, and while in case of tropical savanna it is between 750 to 1270 mm per year. While in case of desert, an area is said to be desert when it is a precipitation of less than 250 mm, and if it has a precipitation of less than 50 mm per year, it is said to be hyper arid region. Now the intensity of rainfall. See, the various classification of rainfall intensity is being given. Like light rain is when there's a precipitation rate of less than 2.5 mm per hour. For moderate it is given, for heavy rain, and for violent rain. This is very important, the classification of rainfall intensity. Now the distribution. See, this line is very important, that crop duration extent equal to number of days of dry spell minus 10 days under very light condition. This is very important statement. Now the other important statement is that crop production can be taken when at least 20 mm of rainfall has occurred, or otherwise you can also say that sowing rain is the rain that has more than 20 mm during the best month for sowing a particular crop. Basically, for sowing any of the crop, minimum amount of rainfall that is required is 20 mm, and this rain is known as sowing rain. Now effective rainfall is that rainfall that is out of the total rainfall, the amount of rainfall that is utilized by crop for its evapotranspiration and metabolic purpose is known as effective rainfall. The other important thing is the stem flow. See, when there is a rainfall, not total rainfall flows through the soil. Some amount of rainfall is received by the plants also, and from plants is reaches to from leaves it reaches to stem and stem to soil. See, basically this type of movement from plant to soil is known as stem flow. Basically from leaves it travels, the water droplet travels to stem and further to soil. This is known as stem flow, and this basically occurs in case of maize, sorghum, and various other crops. So the coefficient of stem flow is ranges from 0.8 to 2.5 2.5%. This is very important, and basically it has been seen in maize crop. Rest all this you can skip, this is not important. You can go through this if you want once. This is also not important. This, the important line is here, that about 90 mm per meter depth in case of sandy soil and about 200 mm per meter in case of clay soil. This is the water storage capacity of various soils. See, the other important thing is the Australia is the world driest continent. While if you talk of, this is Australia is the inhabited land, means people live over there. If it is asked that the driest inhabited continent, then it is Australia, and the driest non-inhabited land, that where people do not live, it is Antarctica. All this can be skipped, this is not important. You can skip this also. This is also not important. You can skip this. You can skip this also. Skip all this. This is also not important. Now El Nino, this is very important. El Nino is a very important topic. El Nino is a Spanish word that means boy child, and it occurs basically around the Christmas time. See, basically what is there, that is, this is the globe. This is the southeast part of the globe. All right. So in the southeast part there is a decrease in pressure and increase in temperature. So there is a wind movement from southeast towards the what do you say is west, that is from Australia towards North America. So this movement leads to a higher amount of rainfall in North America and drought in Australia. This phenomenon is known as El Nino. In the statement form it can be mentioned in this paragraph only, that what is El Nino, and the opposite to it is La Nina. That is basically there will be a drop in pressure in western part and increase in temperature, and the flow would be from west to north southeast. So there will be drought in North America and high amount of rainfall in south east part, that is Australia. This phenomenon is known as La Nina. You can go through this once, it is very important. Now the measurement. See, rainfall can be measured. Most important is, or most commonly used instrument is rain gauge, and rain gauge is also known as pulviograph. 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 It is used to measure rainfall continuously. See, wherever graph word is being used, it means the parameter would be measured in a continuous manner. Also, radar can be used for detecting the movement of clouds or the distribution of the rainfall, area distribution of rainfall. Now, other important line is about 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by ocean, and the large portion of the rest of the Earth is dominated by mountains, snow, desert. This is not important. The important is that about 70% of the Earth is covered by ocean. Now clouds. Clouds is a very important topic from climate point of view. The chapter climate. See, clouds are basically classified on the basis of their height, shape, current transmission, etc. And this is not important. The important part is that basically there are three forms of cloud, that is cirrus, stratus, and cumulus. You do remember the characteristic that cirrus clouds are feathery or fibrous, stratus are in layers or stratified form, and cumulus are in heaps. These are very important, that the characteristic of various clouds. Also the important part is that who give this classification of various clouds. There is basically 10 characteristic form of clouds, and this classification was given by International Cloud Atlas of World Meteorological Department in the year 1966. This is very important. See, one other important thing is that wherever the word alto would be used, or prefix means before, like it is being used over here, the alto status, it is used as a prefix. So alto means uh, clouds that are very thin and present at higher altitude is known as alto, while wherever the word nimbus is being used, that is used to denote rainfall. So these are various types of clouds. These are very important. You have to go through this each line by line. Each every line, every word is very important. There is nothing to skip in all these types of clouds. So you must remember that Cirrus is the highest cloud, known as the mother of pearl. The Cirrus is known as mother of pearl, and cirrostratus causes halo around the sun, and stratus is the lowest near to the ground cloud. Alright, so these clouds, you must go through them, each and every word, each and every line, do not skip it. Now the other thing is the hydrological cycle. That hydrological cycle is basically the movement of how movement of water occurs from atmosphere to soil, soil to plant, plant to again atmosphere. This is basically known as hydrological cycle. Now the important fact is that most of the earth water, that is total water, is about 1.46 into 10 power 9 kilometer cube is in ocean. That is about 96% is in ocean. This is very important. And the rest of part, that is about 2.5%, is present as fresh water, that is majorly in snows, ice, or in groundwater. Out of this, the important part is that water vapor in the atmosphere constitute only 0.01% of the total global water. This is very important statement. Remember that. And the other important statement is that if all the clouds have precipitated, it would increase only in height of about depth of about 2.5 centimeter to the what the amount is already present in the oceans. Now about 65% of the total precipitation that occurs on the various continents is returned to the atmosphere either through evapotranspiration, or it is runoff in form into the rivers and finally into the oceans. Now monsoon, everyone knows that monsoon has been derived from an Arabic word, that is monsoon. The formation of monsoon, this is very important, that how does the formation of monsoon occurs. See, explaining how monsoon occurs would make the video very longer. You can go through this, it is very easy to understand. It's been given in a very easy and comprehensive manner that how monsoon formation occurs. This is very important part, that formation of monsoon. You must go through this all this part. All this part is very important, like southwest monsoon, southeast, northeast monsoon. This is very important. You must go through each line and line by line. Do not skip any part of this. See, it is very important. You must see the graph also. Same is the case with northeast monsoon. See the monsoon, every part of monsoon is very important. Go through it. You can skip this. East Asian monsoon, this would not be asked, neither the Australian monsoon. Just focus on Indian monsoon. European monsoon, skip this. Just remember that European monsoon is known as return of westerlies. Just remember that. Either skip all this. Now enhancing precipitation. See, enhancing precipitation is not important. You can skip this. Just go through it once. It is not important. Not be asked. See what is basic condense. See air well. What will air well do? It will collect all the air and condense it, and the amount of vapors that are present in the atmosphere in the air, it will condense it. So this is air well. Same is the case with active atmospheric water collectors. They will do the same. Now atmospheric water generators. See, these are not important. You can skip this. The important part is the this is not important. Again, cooling condensation, this is also not important. Water for collection, this you can all skip all this. This is not important. See, from seasons, this is important, that there is various types of season from crop production point of view. It is very confusing also, and this is very important. Like cold weather period or winter period is from January to February, while hot weather period or summer is from March to May. So do not confuse with summer to that this June to September. Summer is basically from March to May. This is basically from crop production point of view. See, if it would be given the pre-monsoon, you can easily do March to May. But when it would be given summer, it would be confusing. So basically, summer period is from March to May, while rainy or monsoon period is from June to September, and post monsoon period is from October to December. See, this is important that northeast monsoon period is from October to December. October to December is not cold weather or winter. This is not winter. Now basically it is all given that how variation, this is not important, you can skip this. Same with this, you can skip all this. This also you can be skipped. Now the southwest monsoon, this can be skipped, this can be skipped. Abnormalities in weather, this can be also skipped. These are floods, everyone knows what is flood, what is a drought, this is not important. Other abnormalities, you can skip all this. Now the important part is from here, that the average width of a storm is 75 mm. This is very important, that average width of a storm is how much? It is 75 mm. Now cyclones are very important. See, cyclones are most common in India and cause heavy damage. The important part is that it is formed in the oceans with the latitude between 5 degree to 20 degree. This is very important, that at what latitude cyclone formation occurs. Now the formation of cyclone, how cyclone formation occurs, basically it is not mentioned over here in a proper manner. You can go through a YouTube video, there will be a numerous videos on how cyclone formation occurs. Just remember that in India, in northern hemisphere, basically the movement of cyclone is anti-clockwise, while in southern hemisphere it is clockwise movement. For formation of cyclone, refer a YouTube video, it would be much helpful rather than going through all this. But remember that these statements, like the fall of pressure from periphery to center of the storm varies between 20 to 70 millibar, and the heat transfer is basically because of strong convection, and the convection only leads to formation of cyclone. Also the important part is that cyclone generally originates in water that is warmer than 27 degrees Celsius, means the minimum temperature that is required is 27 degrees Celsius. Now how is the structure of cyclone? This is very important, each and every line is very important in this. Like within 300 kilometer the wind speed is 5 kilometer per hour, and within 150 kilometer it is 7 kilometer per hour, and at the center of the cyclone the clouds are low and menacing and pressure is low. See, remember that in the center of the cloud the wind speed is lower compared to that of in the periphery. Like if you see within 300 kilometer it is 5, and within 150 it is 7 kilometers. So it is generally see, it comes to mind that at the center it would be much higher, but it is not so, it would be less than 7. Now the important part again is mentioned that it is torrential downpour, or torrential or downpour occurs near 30 to 50 kilometers from the center. This is also important. Now the average diameter of cyclone is 23 kilometers. This is also important. Now the important other thing is that average speed of movement of cyclone, it is 120 kilometers per hour, while the average diameter of a cyclone, it is 23 kilometers. So do not confuse with 23 kilometers per hour. Now there are different stages of cyclone. This is very important. The different stages of cyclone are: first is the assemblage of cloud. The second one is depression in. The second one is depression. The third one is called a drop in pressure. The fourth one is called as storm, and the fifth one is called as cyclone. Now the movement of cyclone. See, how does the movement of cyclone occur? This is basically written that in a northern hemisphere it moves in an anti-clockwise manner. So basically the conclusion of all these three lines is that it moves in an anti-clockwise manner. The important part is that the speed is 18 kilometer per hour. See, the others, there was a statement like I have mentioned that the speed of cyclone is 120 kilometer per hour, but it is mentioned that average speed of cyclone movement is 18 kilometer per hour. See, these two statements are true in a manner that the cyclone movement, that is how a cyclone moves, the speed of cyclone is 18 kilometer per hour. but the speed of wind with the cyclone, it is 120 kilometers per hour. All right, see, this is a cyclone. The wind of cyclone, that would, it would be 120 kilometers per hour, but when the cyclone will move, it will move at the speed of 18 kilometer per hour. So remember this. After that, effect of cyclone. See, effect of cyclone is always damaging. This is not important, you can skip this. Now various weather forecasting methods. See, this is important that in 1932 agricultural meteorological division was started. Now basically in India there are 5 regional forecasting centers in Chennai, Nagpur, Mumbai, Delhi and Calcutta. Now essentials of weather forecasting. What are the data that we required, or what are the essential characters features that we require? That is proper recording. This is not important, you can skip this. The important part is that how it is um, forecasted. For this, synoptic charts are being used. In synoptic charts, isobars, that is, this is very important. These 5 lines are very important. That what represents what, like pressure is being represented by narrow black lines, while precipitation is being shown by shading. Wind direction is shown by arrows, and wind direction is shown by arrows toward which the wind is blowing. The amount of clouds is marked by a small circle with shading, like this is a small circle and it would be shaded. This is marked by clouds. Now forecasting information. See, various forecasting informations are being used for forecasting of weather, and the important part is that sunny condition is when the sky is almost clear with 90 to 100% sunshine. When it would be called as partly cloudy or scattered cloudiness when the sunshine is 50 to 90%, considerable cloudy when 20 to 50%. This is very important. Now precipitation. See, this part is very important because it has been asked in 2019 JRF that what is isolated rain, what is scattered rain, and this is very important. So do remember that isolated rain is a rainfall that has less than 1/3 of the area that is to specified. Scattered is when it is from 1/3 to 2/3, and when it is more than 2/3 it is called as widespread. See, there are basically 6 categories of dew, that is very light, light, moderate, heavy, very heavy and wet. This is not important, just remember because of general knowledge. Now types of weather forecasting. Basically there are 3 types of weather forecasting: short range, medium range and long range weather forecasting. See, short range weather forecasting are for 1 or 2 days, while medium range forecasting are for 3 to 4 days or 2 weeks, while long range weather forecasting are for more than 4 weeks. Important part is that long range weather forecasting are used for choosing cropping patterns. This has been asked in JRF, that which type of forecasts are being used for choosing cropping pattern. Now there are different methods of forecasting like synoptic methods, statistical method and numerical method. The important part is that which one is used for what. Synoptic methods are used for short range forecast. Statistical method are used for short as well as long range. It is not used for medium range. The important thing is that Indian Meteorological Department has given a multiple regression equation based on using this statistical method based on 16 parameters. Other important part is the numerical weather prediction method. It is based on it is not based, it is used for measuring, not measuring, it is used for forecasting medium range forecast. Now weather modifications, like how artificial rain can be made. See, principle of artificial rain making, you can go through again a YouTube video because it is not being mentioned very clearly over here. It would be very confusing. The important thing is that for warm seeding and cold seeding. See, when the temperature of the cloud is warmer, it is said to be warm clouds, and when it is cold, it is known as cold clouds. It is as simple as that. Now for case of cold seeding or for cold clouds, these are basically silver iodide, that is NaI, and dry ice. These two are being used, while for warm clouds NaCl is being used. This is important that about 100 to 1000 nuclei per liter is required. This is important. Every line is important, but for basic mechanism of how cloud seeding occurs, you must go through a YouTube video. It would be much helpful in understanding rather than going through all these statements. Now you can skip this if you once have gone through all the YouTube videos. After that, um, the important part is the protection against frost damage. How protection can be done? See, basically heaters can be used, and the important thing is that the heating system that would be used, it would increase the temperature by about 3 to 10 degrees Celsius only. Also, the important thing is overhead sprinkler irrigation can be given for us to increase the temperature of the soil, as the latent heat of fusion would increase and maintain the soil temperature. Now heat trapping. For trapping of heat, the soil temperature can be increased by planting crops on sunny walls of furrows. This is not important. Classification of climate. This is very important part from the climate chapter, that is classification of climate. Basically, de Candolle was the first person to attempt the classification of climate that was based on vegetation. See, this is important, and who classified climate for the first time, and the answer is de Candolle, and the basis of his classification was vegetation. The other person was Köppen. He was the first person to classify climate based on weather elements. So do remember that who classified based on vegetation, and the other is weather elements. This is being mentioned over here that Köppen has been used temperature as the basis of its classification. For he classified basically climate into 5 groups, that is from A to E. Now this A is tropical rainy climate. A region is said to be a tropical rainy climate when the average temperature of the coolest month is more than 18 degrees Celsius and precipitation is greater than evaporation. Then it is said to be tropical rainy climate. This is very important classification. Tropical dry climate is when the temperature is more than 18 degrees Celsius, but the twist is that the rainfall is less than evaporation, that is evaporation would be greater than precipitation. In case of mild temperature rainy climate, the average temperature of the coolest month is from 18 degrees Celsius to minus 3 degrees Celsius. See, the range is very important in every part. And also remember that which month it is talking about. It is the coolest month. Again, here it was coolest month. Then mild temperature rainy climate, it is coolest month. All this is the range. While in case of cold snow climate, the temperature of the coolest month is less than minus 3 degrees Celsius. While in case of polar climate, the average temperature of the warmest month, it is not coolest, it is less than 10 degrees Celsius. It is subdivided into tundra ice cap. Same is with case with tropical dry climate. It is being further divided into arid and semi-arid climates. This is basically for understanding purpose, so you can skip this if you can go through this once. You'll basically come to know how its classification is being done. See, Thornwick classification is very important as it is the most widely used classification of climate. Basically, the Thornwick classification is based on precipitation effective index, temperature effective index, and seasonal distribution of rainfall. Then this table is very important, that on the basis of precipitation effective index, the climate is being classified into 5 types. This table is very important, so do remember this. After that, this table, see, Thornwick classification is very important, so you must remember each and every data of this. Like, what is, if a tropical region is when the temperature effective index is 128 and above, everything is important. And this same is the case with these symbols. Now Troll's classification. See, Troll's classification is important because it is most commonly used classification for agricultural purpose, or it is the most accepted classification for agricultural purpose. See, most widely used is of Thornwick, while most accepted for agricultural purpose is Troll's classification. Alright. Now for Troll's classification, he took temperature and humid months as parameters. This is important, that the parameters of Troll's classification are temperature and humid months. This classification of Troll is very important, and more important than this is modified form of trawl classification, because the modified form of trawl was used by ICRISAT, and according to which 88% of the geographical area of India is under tropics. This is very important, and out of this 88% tropical area, 57% of the geographical area of India is under semi-arid dry region. This table is very important, the number of human months as well as the geographical area percentage. Now moisture deficit index. Moisture deficit index is basically precipitation minus potential evapotranspiration by potential evapotranspiration. The important part is that MDI is being used for the, and it is not used, it is being basically adopted by AICRPD, and that is All India Coordinated Research Project on Dryland Agriculture. Basically it is being used for formulation of this. Now this table is very important. It has been asked several times in JRF and SRF as well, that subhumid climate has MDI value of how much, and semi-arid is how much, and arid of how much. Agroclimatic zones. See, agroclimatic zones, according to, see, the agroclimatic zones have been classified by Planning Commission as well as by NARC. According to Planning Commission, there are 15 agroclimatic zones, and they were given in 1988 during the 7th year plan. While according to NICR or NARC, National Agriculture Research Project, ICR, it has classified agroclimatic regions into 131. While the other term is that is confusing is the agroecological regions. See, NBSS LUP has classified India into 20 agroecological regions, whereas ICR has classified into 8 agroecological regions. So do not confuse between agroclimatic zones and agroecological zones. Out of all these climatic zones, the important one is the Transgangetic Plain zone, because majority of the characteristics, like if you see, it has highest net zone area, highest irrigated area, highest cropping intensity, highest groundwater utilization. So this forms the important part. The other important thing is the Eastern Plateau and Hill Zone. This is the largest agroclimatic zone, and the smallest is that island zone. This is the smallest one. Now the concept of agroecosystems. See, basically you can go through this, you will come to know what is an agroecosystem. The important part is that India is divided into 5 agroecosystems, that is arid, rain-fed, irrigated, coastal, and hill and mountain agroecosystem. These are basically 5. Now out of this, arid ecosystem is spread in it. See, basically these are the stats that are continuously changing, so do not remember these stats. What is to be remembered is that the majority of, or the maximum area is under irrigated condition. Second is in arid region. For rain-fed ecosystem is said to be rain-fed when it has a rainfall of about 500 to 1500 mm and is grouped under rain-fed ecosystem. And the potential evapotranspiration ranges from 1100 to 1900 mm per annum. This is very important. And the other important thing is that the length of growing period is around 90 days. Now coastal ecosystem, basically India has a coastal line of about 8129 kilometers. This is very important, that the coastal line of India is 8129 kilometers. Now hill and mountain ecosystem, this you can go through it all once, just skip all this is not important. The important part is that irrigated agriculture accounts for 37% of the total country arable land, and with 55% of the total agricultural production. You can skip this is not important. The productivity system, this is also not important. Now climate change, this is basically a very debatable topic, that climate change, and it is not given in a very sufficient manner in this chapter. We'll make a separate video for this. And the important part is that Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was started in the year 1988. And it was jointly established by World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environment Programme. Now source of evidence. Glaciers are basically among the most sensitive indicator of climate change. This is an important line, and this all can be skipped. This is not important. See, this remember that dendroclimatology. It is the analysis of tree rings growing pattern. See, there are various rings are present in the tree. When we cut it through the trunk, from the base, you will see various types of rings. This can be used to determine the past climate where it has been growing. The altimeter can be used for measuring evaporation. See, altimeter, atomidometer, and evaporimeter. These three instruments are used for measuring evaporation. Now, various greenhouse gases. Basically, if you talk of greenhouse gases, the most contributing greenhouse gas is CO2. While if you talk about various greenhouse, major contribution to greenhouse, then it would be answer would be that water vapor. So you can see that about 50% of the greenhouse effect is estimated by water vapor. But if you talk about what greenhouse gases, it would be CO2. Now the important part is that the direct radiative effect of mass of methane is about 72 times stronger than same mass of carbon dioxide over the 20 years. This is very important. See, this is the contribution of various greenhouse, but this is being mentioned that greenhouse has this much concentration. This is basically the uh, statement form of this table. Now emission scenario, this can be skipped, this all can be skipped, this can be skipped, this is not important, this is also not important. Again, this is not important, this is not important. Global warming potential, this is very important. If you have agriculture terminology book, then go through this, and do not read this part from Reddy and Reddy, because it is not given in a very clear manner. It is very confusing, so do not go through this. The global warming potential, you must go through agriculture terminology by Indian Society of Agronomy. Important line, the only important line is that the methane has an atmospheric life of about 12 plus minus 3 years. Now the impact, this is also not important. Now this is also not important, this is also not important, this is also not important. Nothing is important from this part. So this is again repeating the previous chapter only, previous page only. This is also not important. Sequestration of soil carbon, this is also not important. Adaptation is also not important. See, this line I have already discussed that a hyperarid region is a one that has less than 50 mm per year of rainfall. This is also not important. Now coping mechanism, this is not important. The government, basically these are the references. So thank you. हो गया. हाँ 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 हाँ.